Good morning, everybody. Merry Christmas to everybody who is joining us on the channel this morning or whenever you're watching this on Christmas. My name is Ryan McGinley. I'm donning my Celtic Hoops Christmas jumper, as you can see. Tony's wearing green as well. Get A Haggerty 10 with me as always. Tony, how are you doing this morning?
Yeah, Merry Christmas to everybody. Just want to say thank you for everything throughout the year, for your constant backing and subscriptions, and delighted to be joining you today.
Yeah, absolutely. So I thought before we talk about some football, let's get some Christmas stuff out of the way so far, or not so far, but in your life, what's your favourites, basically? So first of all, I want to ask you, Tony, what is your favourite Christmas song?
Oh, that's easy. It's Fairy Tale of New York by
Yeah, it's like,
Shane MacGowan and Kirsty MacColl, because I remember going to see them. They played the Barlands 87 when it came out, and then they played the SECC 88, and they had Kirsty MacColl coming out of what was a giant refrigerator, which was called the Pogerator, and it was just wonderful. And it was one of the, not say one of the first gigs I was at, but it was the first Pogues gig I was at, and it was just magic. And they did this, the fake snow, and the two of them were dancing on stage and stuff like that. It was just a brilliant moment. So yeah, I would say that's my favourite Christmas song. Yeah.
yeah, and for me, it is. It's got to be Wham's "Last Christmas," which has had so many different lyrics amongst the Celtic support. Ronnie Dyla, Brendan Rodgers. It used to be Brendan Rodgers, now it's Casper Schmeichel who's got the nod in terms of the lyrics that change every year, it seems. But I think he's a pretty good guy to have to be giving your heart to after Joe Hart, especially. You know, you've got from one goalkeeper to the next. He could actually be somebody that we talk about during this video as well. You never know. My next question that I want to ask you, Tony, in terms of quick fire Christmas questions, what is your favourite Christmas movie?
Well, I was asked this in one of the group chats the other day, and lots of people say traditional Christmas films, but do you know what my favourite Christmas movie is? Probably surprised, it's a bit of a left field one. It's the Marx Brothers: A Night at the Opera, which contains that wonderful dialogue, which I think I put into the group chat, which ends with the wonderful line, "There ain't no sanity clause." And it's arguably the greatest comedic words ever put in a script or a film, in my opinion. But I guess that's just my opinion. But yeah, I would say the Marx Brothers: A Night at the Opera. If you haven't seen it, check it out. It's wonderful comedy, 1930s comedy from a wonderful bunch of comedians.
Speaking of wonderful, my favourite Christmas movie has that word in it. Very nice segue, Tony. Also a movie from the 1930s, I believe, or the 1940s. I'm not sure exactly. It's within that decade between the 1930s and the 40s. It's a Wonderful Life, one of my favourite movies. I cry every time I watch it.
Between those two, Ryan, because I love that too. And a side note to that is, do you know I was 30 years of age before I even brought myself round to watching It's a Wonderful Life, because I just thought that was something I probably wouldn't enjoy. More fool me. I've spent the last 22 years of my life watching it on a loop at this time of year. So yeah, like you, it's a brilliant film. Can't argue with that choice.
Yeah, I like It's a Wonderful Life. I like The Holiday. I like Elf as well. So I like quite a few of them. Quite a few I don't like, really, to be honest. There's some that I've never seen, some that I maybe wouldn't watch again. But I think out of my favourites, those three I would probably name as the ones that I would go back to every single year. Have you got any traditions, Tony, that you do on Christmas Day before we talk about everything Celtic, sort of an end of year podcast that we're doing at the moment?
It's funny, one of my traditions is that I wait till just after midnight and exchange presents then. It's become a kind of tradition. I don't usually wait till Christmas Day, probably because I'm a big kid and I can't wait. And it's something I started with some members of the family, and then I've continued that with my wife, my partner, who's been my partner for 10 years or so or more. So we exchange on just after midnight, as you just straight into Christmas Day. And speaking of your last Christmas in Wham, I was once serenaded myself by that song, and the lyrics became, "This year, to save me from tears, I'll give it to someone specky," which I thought was absolutely priceless. And it's remained with me, and it's funny because whenever I hear it, that's the words I sing in my head. just as a kind of self-deprecatory thing. But yeah, that's one of my traditions, Ryan. Yeah. There you go.
Yeah.
Your own?
Very much family oriented, I would
Yeah.
say, or orientated on the day. So you'll get up, you'll open your presents, then you go and visit your grandparents. I'm quite lucky and fortunate. I've still got two out of my four grandparents, so I'll go and visit them, have Christmas dinner with my family, and then we go to my aunt's house. It's a big one this year. It's the last ever episode of Gavin and Stacey on Christmas night, so I'm looking forward to watching that. Although I'll be watching it on a bit of a delay, because I'll not be watching it when I'm at my aunt's house. I'll need to wait until I get home to watch that. So the phone will be turned off. It'll be on airplane mode. I'll take every eventuality to avoid any spoilers. That'll be the first thing I do when I get back. Have you got any Christmas specials, Tony, that you like watching?
It's funny you talk about tradition as well. Today is my grand's birthday. We used to go to my grand's every Christmas Day until 1982. She passed in February of 83, and it's her birthday. And every day on her birthday, that's my mum's mum, I always go down to the house where a flat used to be. It's now not there anymore. And I sit and I talk to her, excuse me, for a while and tell her how my year went. That's one of my traditions. And, excuse me, and a funny story in that one day I was stopped by the police or the CID, who thought I was there for something completely different and gave me real static. And one believed me, one didn't. And they said I was there for the drop as they deemed it. And I was like, I'm talking to my gran, and they're like, where's your gran? And the more I spoke, the more ludicrous and absurd it sounded. I said, my gran's flat used to sit there. I said, it's her birthday today. I said, I come here traditionally. I said, and speak to her. And one of the guys was killing himself laughing, and the other guy was just like, and I had my collar and tie on and all that, because I was heading into the record where I worked. Used to do it in the morning, whatever. And it's a tradition I've done ever since she passed away, and I still keep that up. So today, I was down there on the 23rd, which was her birthday, and always do that. It's just my way of keeping her alive, and I always phone my mother when I do it, and she gets kind of emotional upset. I don't wish to do that to her, but she just loves the fact that I do that. So yeah, that's another one.
Yeah. Shall we talk about some football, Tony, and what's happened this year? Because it's been a very successful year for Celtic. Celtic have won all three trophies this year, when you think about it, because they've won the Scottish Cup and the Scottish Premiership, as well as the League Cup. Now, 1.5 weeks ago, with that penalty shootout win against Rangers in the final at Hampden. It's been a pretty successful year for Brendan Rodgers. It's had its ups and downs, to be fair. You've had those bruising defeats in the Champions League. You had that defeat against Hearts, in which Brendan Rodgers called out the officials. There's been plenty of that this year from probably both sides of the city, you would say, more so the blue side than the green side in recent weeks, but there has been that. So what I wanted to do was ask you a couple of questions about this season, and I want to get your opinion on it, and then I'll chime in or chirp in with my own opinions. So what has been your moment of the year, Tony? If you could think of all the things that have happened in 2024 regarding Celtic, what's been your moment of the year?
I probably, because we were both there, Kilmarnock at Rugby Park, and watched a Celtic team win the title in the Celtic way, in real style. And I just enjoyed it because we both shared that, and it was a performance for the ages that will live with me. And probably also Adam Ida's last minute winner against Rangers in the cup final. Those two moments. But I'm always I'm a moments person, but I always love sharing them. I always loved sharing them with my family when I was growing up. When you were with your dad, or your nephew, your brother, at a special moment. I remember being with my dad and my nephew when Tom Rodgers scored the invincible final. That lives with me, stays with me forever because of my reaction to that. But yeah, I think, especially this year, I think those two moments stand out for me, Ryan. I enjoyed Matt O'Reilly's dink at Ibrox as well, with the penalty. Things. But if you're asking, I would say that, and also because I just think we were together in those moments, and I like the fact that you share things with people, and you know, I was joyous that night, and we sat in the car, didn't we, and did a podcast. It was like 1 a.m. or something, wasn't it? It was very late on anyway, and we weren't caring. There was so many people joining us on the stream, and they didn't want us to leave, and I just thought that's what supporting Celtic's all about.
That is, absolutely, and it shows the community that we've made on the Celtic Way, which is absolutely brilliant. We're hoping to increase that tenfold as we go into the new year, into 2025, another year of covering Celtic, covering the team that you love. For me, in terms of moment of the year, there has been a lot of good ones. That's the good thing about watching Celtic, certainly domestically. I've had moments personally that have been good, such as going on my first away trip to Zagreb. The football wasn't great. That was probably the worst part of it, but everything else surrounding that trip was absolutely brilliant. A tremendous country, a beautiful country to go to, and a place that I want to go back to, actually, because you know it was very cheap. Everything was cheap there, and I recommend it to everybody that's maybe looking for a city break. Not sure how easy it is getting there in terms of you might have to take 2 flights, a connecting flight in order to get to Zagreb airport, but I do recommend it if you get the chance. But in terms of football and moment of the year, it has to be Leipzig for me, in my opinion, because I've never seen Celtic play like that before in the Champions League, taking it to a team and really giving them a taste of their own medicine in the Champions League. You know, that press, I look at that second goal that Nicholas Kuhn scored right before half-time. Now, everybody was quite happy because they were going in one each at half-time. They were like, in the second half, right, it's going to be a tough game, but they can maybe come out of this with a draw or a win. For Nicholas Kuhn to score that goal, but the way in which Celtic harassed the opponent into making that mistake, it was a sound that, you know, you don't hear. I mean, it's lucky as Celtic supporters and covering Celtic that you will hear great fan responses. There's not been a roar like that for the second goal in a long, long time, and it felt like Celtic were actually making their impact, making their presence felt in the Champions League. In terms of Celtic Way ones, obviously spending the cup final with you, the League Cup final with you as well. These are the great moments, you know, regardless of how late that you're working, it's always worth it. Being in these moments and sharing it and talking to everybody else that's on the podcast, speaking to the other people that work with us alongside yourself. So it's been a good year in that regard. We're very lucky because we've got a good team on the football park, but we've got a good team off of it at the Celtic Way as well, and it's just as enjoyable spending it with people like yourself.
I think the manager summed it up with "I'll be Leipzig, a generational game, Ryan."
Absolutely.
I don't think you can get any more succinct and to the point than that. And I think that would be up there in a lot of Celtic supporters' highlights as well.
Yeah. So I'm going to then move on to Player of the Year. Now, this can be from January to December. It can be quite lopsided because, you know, you've got 2 different seasons. You had some really good performers in the first half, which would have been the second half of last season, and then you get the first half of this season, right up until the game against Dundee that happened a few days ago, or Dundee United rather, that happened a few days ago. So who's been your Player of the Year? And you can name anybody from, you know, the first half or the second half of last season and the first half of this season. Who's your Player of the Year?
I think recency bias kicks in with this, doesn't it? If you're asking me from the turn of the year, January last year, it was Adam Idah for his impact that he made and what he brought to Celtic. And if you're asking me from the start of this season, it's Nicholas Kuhn by a landslide. So I've kind of split it into 2 bits of the year, which probably most Celtic supporters would. Adam Idah had a wonderful impact. We sat there at Motherwell that day and thought we're in trouble here. And he came on and bailed them out at Fir Park, big style, and just kind of hit the ground running after that, didn't he? He scored some important goals, and whenever he played, you felt that Celtic were going to win football matches. I was delighted when they signed him. And then obviously Nicholas Kuhn did that in pre-season, and everybody's saying, can he carry it into the campaign? Well, he most certainly did, and he's still carrying it. 23 goal contributions, 12 goals, 11 assists, Ryan, speaks volumes. And from where Nicholas Kuhn has come from in terms of the weight loss and the injuries that he suffered, and you know, telling you, and then as you say, that roll that went up when he scored against his former employers, and you just know that this guy's, you know, on the way back to stardom because he's already played for Bayern Munich and Ajax as a youngster. So yeah, I would say for their impact for the impact he made to help Celtic win a double, Adam Idah for the first part of the year, and for the impact he's made so far, Nicholas Kuhn.
I'm going to...
Is that cheating? Between two players?
No, because I'm going to say two players and they both play in the same position. And that, I think I'll actually surprise you. I'm going to say, because I'm going to say Joe Hart and Kasper Schmeichel. I'm going to say the two of them.
Yeah.
Because I think they go hand in hand. The fact that they're friends off the pitch as well has made that, going from one place to the next has been really, really good. Having Joe Hart in the second half of that season, the penalty shootout save against Aberdeen, and then you've got Kasper Schmeichel, who did the same in the League Cup final against Rangers, saving that from Ridvan Yilmaz. They've been so good, the pair of them. I think Joe Hart went up a level ever since he announced that he was retiring. And then you had Kasper Schmeichel came in. I think it was in the middle of July. It wasn't an early signing. They were still sorting out that goalkeeping position. I remember they were linked with so many goalkeepers. Do you remember that week or two in which about 7 or 8 goalkeepers were linked at the same time? All of them to then get Kasper Schmeichel. You've got Sinisalo working away in the background. Hopefully we see a bit more of him in 2025, or any of them, because we've not seen him yet for Celtic. But those two players have been instrumental in maintaining the success for Celtic, in terms of Celtic getting a treble and in terms of Celtic winning the first trophy and essentially winning the second trophy with regard to the league.
Can't disagree with you there. I've always said I'm naturally drawn to forward players because I was a forward myself. So if you're a centre forward or a right winger, you're quids in with your old Dahir. So I think that's why I've always. But I remember saying at the time when people were talking about what Kasper Schmeichel's brought, that it would be disparaging to call it an upgrade on Joe Hart. I still feel that way, because I think the two of them brought something special, or brought something special to Celtic. And it's just been a continuation of that. And I look at Joe Hart. He was there as a supporter yesterday, wasn't he? And with his son, I believe.
On Sunday, yes, a few days ago, yes, he was at Tannadice.
Yeah, lots of people say that there'll be a supporter when they leave Celtic, and they'll continue to follow the fortunes of the club. But Joe Hart means it. And he says it gave him something back. Celtic made Joe Hart fall in love with football again. And I think that it's happening again with Kasper Schmeichel. Because I think he was a bit of a crossroads when he was leaving Anderlecht, wasn't he? I think Celtic's going. He was on Ben Foster's podcast saying that he loved that winning culture at Celtic, because his heroes were guys who sustained it, Rodgers, Federer, over long periods of time. And he said that's what drew him to Celtic, that winning and the winning mentality and constantly striving to win. So I admire that, and I admire both what Joe Hart and Kasper Schmeichel have brought to the club so far, and I can't argue with your choice on that either. It would have been another toss-up there with myself with that one, but as I say, goalkeepers have never been sexy in my eyes in that sense. It's always been forwards, so I always plumb for forward players.
Last couple of categories that I've got, or places in which you can put your nominations in, we'll pick a winner or whatever. What's been your goal of the season, Tony? What's from January to December? What's been your favourite goal?
Goodness, that's a hard one, isn't it? Trying to remember. There's been so many good ones, isn't there? Excuse me. I mentioned it earlier, but just for the sheer impudence, Matt O'Reilly's dink at Ibrox, to do that with no fans, and to actually tell the manager you're going to do that, because I believe Brendan Rodgers said in the aftermath of in Ibrox, he said that Matt O'Reilly told him that's what he was going to do. Because I'm sure I asked him if his heart was in his mouth when Matt O'Reilly did that, and he went, no, he told me he was going to do that. And I just think it was a player at the top of his game, wasn't it? And he went there, and it took a worldie for Celtic not to win that football match, but I really enjoyed that, because I just think that it takes bottle, but it takes a lot of class to execute it as well. And also, as I say, it's impudent and it's cheeky, and it's at the home of your rivals when you don't have any supporters there, and fair play to him. I did enjoy that moment. Couldn't do anything about it because I was just sat there in silence, as you would But it was a moment that made me smile, Ryan. Let's put it that way. There has been better goals, no doubt, and but I just enjoyed that. I just made me smile and chuckle and thought, we'll enjoy you while we can, Matt O'Reilly.
My favourite goal of last season, sadly, cannot make the list. It was scored in December of last year, and it was Lewis Palma against Ross County in terms of overall effectiveness for the goal.
Yeah.
If I'm talking about it, I put these into two categories in terms of impact of goal and the way that a goal's taken, and how good a goal is aesthetically. If we're talking about a goal being aesthetically pleasing, then I can't look further than any further than Nicholas Kuhn against RB Leipzig. People are saying it was a cross, no chance. He means to shoot there, and it's a phenomenal goal by the German winger against his former team. If we're talking about impact, I can't look any further than Ademida against Rangers in the Scottish Cup final. It's a scrappy goal, but it all starts from the way Paulo Bernardo runs past Nico Raskin, winning the ball back, not allowing himself to fall over, gets up, or not allows himself to stay on the ground. He gets up, runs forward, takes the shot on, spilled from Butland, and Ademida's there to put it through. I think both of them secured permanent contracts with Celtic that day. Yes, it took a little bit longer for them to actually sign up, but I think they'd made their mind up of where they wanted to be, and now they're both at Celtic.
Yeah, I think I think goal of the season decisions are that they're hard, because there's so many, and it depends what you like in a goal. It can be a snapshot from 30 yards, a thunderbolt, all that kind of stuff, or it could be a goal that means something. But yeah, I mean, don't Kuhn's goal against Leipzig was a touch of class, touch of brilliance, wasn't it? Let's be honest. And Ademida's goal, I think the manager said it himself, didn't he? Wow, what a summer he'll have, living on the memory of scoring the winning goal, being an Irishman and scoring the winning goal in the Scottish Cup final against Rangers. So, yeah, and again, another moment that we shared together. We were both there, and and this is things that I enjoy about supporting Celtic. That's your life. I think Nick Hornby nailed it in Fever Pitch when your life's played out in seasons, but your football supporting life's played out in moments, isn't it? And you can always tell what year it was by fixtures and moments. If somebody says to you, "Oh, what year was that?" and they'll say, "Oh, such and such did this," you'll say, "Oh, it's 19 whatever or 20 whatever," because you're just they're in your head. So I think your life is. I always say your brain, for me certainly, it's like a Polaroid camera. I don't need images. I just press a button in my head and it comes out, and I shake it like a Polaroid picture. I know exactly where I was when it happened and how it came about. So my wife tells me I'm just full of useless information regarding Celtic, but I guess it's in there and I don't want to lose it, Ryan. I think that's the point, so.
Here's hoping that you don't lose it and you continue to cherish those memories. You've got plenty of them from your Celtic supporting and journalistic career as well. The next category, maybe the last one that we talk about today, is on Brendan Rodgers. What has been your Brendan Rodgers moment of the year? What's been the moment that stood out to you in terms of quotes, in terms of the way he's behaved on the park, the way he's behaved off the park? What has been your Brendan Rodgers-ism of the year?
There's been plenty of them, hasn't there? Do you know what? It was last year when he kind of came in and he said, "I'll see you in May," and then he was asked about that, and he was just like, well, kind of shrugged his shoulder and kind of said, I did say it, kind of made a rod for his own back, didn't he? But he was bullish enough, Ryan, to say it, and then he stood there. But I like to. It's funny because he's dealt with. He never shucks a question. Right, the ticket fiasco, nailed it. This is not a Celtic Rangers thing; it's a Rangers thing. The other day when the finances were brought up, Philippe Clement can do what he likes and grasp onto whatever, but Celtic has been organically grown. There's no rich man came in from the Middle East and poured a lot of money into Celtic. this has been organically grown. No, stuff like that. I think he just had a wonderful way of cutting to the heart of what Celtic supporters are thinking, and he can vocalise it. And Postecoglou could do it as well, but Brendan has been very good at that. But the one that sticks out for me, we'll write our own story at Fir Park, when he felt that there was a kind of, and he got that siege mentality that he was looking for, Ryan, and he told everybody, if you think we're wobbling or you think we're going to blow this, think away, write what you want, we'll write our own story, and they did. And I thought in that moment he captured it. He captured what the Celtic supporters were thinking as well, and he was giving them confidence and saying, look, I've got this, trust me on it, and we will get better. We'll bring in a calibre of player, but at this moment in time, these guys are giving me everything, and we will get over the line. So he's had a few, and also the DVD Paradise is for Us. That's
opposition.
Yeah, loved all that. Loved those kind of stuff. So I find it hard to just pick one because he has that many that I just think he's a wonderful orator, Ryan, and you could listen to him all day and you learn whenever you shut your ears and open your ears and listen to him. Mm-hmm. Shut your mouth.
That's what happens. It's Christmas. You're allowed to get it wrong, Tony. For me, it's when Celtic won the league. Not officially, but I think off the park when they won the league. And I will say this to every person that asks me. That 2-0 defeat to Hearts when he called out the referees for their incompetence on the day, which it was. It was incompetence. I think Celtic were refereed to a different standard that afternoon at Tynecastle, and Brendan Rodgers came out, and really it was like a war cry from the manager. He had to get people on board. Celtic had just been beat. Rangers were beat 24 hours previously against Motherwell, I believe. I think that was a game in which Theo Bear ran riot, to be honest. But Celtic failed to take that chance to, I'm not sure exactly the way the league table was at that point, but it was close between the two sides. And that was before Rangers had their almighty tumble against Dundee and Ross County, respectively. But a rallying cry was put out by Brendan Rodgers. He fired everybody up. I also heard from the players as well that some of them went. They still went on their night out after that, their team building night out, and that galvanised all of the players. And from then until the end of the season, they didn't have a league defeat. They won basically every game bar that 3-each draw against Rangers, which was counted as a win by Rangers as players and manager. It didn't turn out that way at the end of the season. So for me, that was my moment of Brendan Rodgers, and it really showed class and that bit of arrogance that I think is needed as a Celtic manager. You don't want to be a shrinking violet as a Celtic manager. You need to have a bit about you, and Brendan Rodgers showed that on that day. And I thought he was brilliant. I thought he was measured. I thought he was calculated, and he got the required response from the players and from the rest of Scottish football, to be honest, because I think he fired it up and sent it into overdrive. I remember listening to certain radio shows after that, and he was the talk of the town for days. And that's exactly what Brendan Rodgers wants. If you're talking about Brendan Rodgers, it means he's doing something right, because he's maybe triggering other people. And if he's doing that, then he's got the message is loud and clear. And from then until the end of the season, I thought it was tremendous.
He's a class act, both on and off the park. He really is. He just knows. He's got wonderful timing, Ryan. He just knows what to say and when to say it, and it doesn't matter the question. He doesn't shirk any issue. He's just, as I say, he's a wonderful orator, and you could listen to him all day. His press conferences are a joy to behold at times. And you just kind of sit there and you think you're proud that this man is the manager of your football club. He represents you in the finest way possible, and there's a reason why. And as I've said before, it's a hill I'll die on. Celtic have at the managerial helm an elite level boss, and it's something that I don't shy away from. I said it when he came back, and he's elite level for a reason, and he proved it on many occasions last year, and he's still proving it.
Absolutely. Tony, I think that's a great place to end it, because I know that people will be busy on Christmas Day doing all of that, but we're so thankful that you could stay with us for half an hour of your time. We hope you all have an amazing rest of your day. We will be back tomorrow. John and I will be discussing the Celtic against Motherwell game on Boxing Day. We'll also be live a few days later for the pre and post match from St Johnstone as well. It's a hectic Christmas. It's a hectic Christmas schedule, but we'll be there in every single or every available moment to discuss all things Celtic with you guys. We really do appreciate it. If you want to support us a little bit more, you can join our YouTube members channel, which is just £2.99 a month. You'll receive early video access, priority comments, and exclusive members chat function. Tony, is there anything else you want to say before we head off and let people get on with the rest of their day?
I just want to wish everybody a Merry Christmas. I hope you have a wonderful day, whoever you're sharing it with or spending it with. Just have a wonderful time. Football never sleeps. We'll be back, as Ryan said, covering the Motherwell and St Johnstone games. But yeah, have a great time, great festive period, and we shall see you all soon.
Thank you very much, guys. Have a very Merry Christmas, and we will see you all tomorrow on Boxing Day for Celtic versus Motherwell at Celtic Park. We're heading back to paradise. You can't beat it, especially during the festive time of year. Thank you very much, everybody. Have a very good rest of your day. Stay safe, everybody, and enjoy the rest of the Christmas Day celebrations. Cheers, guys, and we'll see you all tomorrow.